Welcome back, movie fans. Today, we're diving into the intense, suspenseful world of A Quiet Place. Day 1. If you thought the original films kept you on the edge of your seat, get ready for a deeper look at the terrifying beginning of it all. How did society react to the sudden, unstoppable force of creatures who hunt by sound? What choices did people make when silence became survival? Stay tuned as we unpack the spine-chilling events that set the stage for the A Quiet Place universe. The world went silent the day an alien creature invaded and ravaged the cities. This sound-sensitive predator is unmatched in speed when chasing prey. Amid the chaos, Samira fights to protect herself while also helping a fearful companion who clings to her for safety. The story is steeped in terror, trauma, and tragedy. In New York City, where the typical noise level is about to unleash a catastrophe, residents are unaware of the disaster that awaits them. Samira attends a session in the hospital room with other patients. Nurse Ruben asks her to express her views about her environment. She begins reading from a piece of paper, saying, "This place looks and smells like trash. The people here are absurd, and I like nothing about it." Noticing the discomfort in Ruben's expression, she stops reading. Soon after, the session ends, and Ruben reprimands her. As Samira makes her way back to her room, Ruben reprimands her for her rude comments. He suggests that she try to behave less harshly and offers to take her into the city on the hospital bus as a way to help improve her attitude. The bus is set to leave in half an hour, and Ruben insists that going out will help broaden her perspective. Reluctant at first, Samira agrees on one condition: she will go only if they can have pizza. Ruben agrees, and Samira heads to her room to get ready. Samira heads to her room to change clothes, accompanied by her service cat. Sharp alarms continue blaring, indicating an emergency in the hospital. She fetches her iPad, changes her clothes, and replaces the patch on her waist. The bus starts its journey toward the city, taking Samira and other patients along. The bus finally stops at Marionette Theater as they arrive at their destination. As they wait for the puppet show to start, a little boy watches Samira's cat with great affection. Soon, the show begins, featuring an older man displaying a puppet of a boy holding a balloon. The puppet boy inflates the balloon and lifts himself into the air, but suddenly, the balloon pops and he falls. This sight disturbs Samira, and she immediately leaves the theater. She enters a nearby grocery shop, but the shopkeeper denies entry to her cat. But Samira manages to quickly get the items she needs, explaining that she can't leave her service cat outside. As she leaves the store, she finds Ruben calling her over with urgency. The city is experiencing an emergency, and they must return to the hospital immediately, which means they won't be able to get pizza as planned. Samira becomes furious, as the promise of pizza was the only reason she agreed to visit the city. After a heated argument with Ruben, she reluctantly accepts that they won't be getting any pizza. Samira sits on the bus angrily, turning on her iPad and ignoring the sharp sound of emergency alarms. Suddenly, the bus stops and she notices everyone looking up at the sky. A number of stars appear to be falling toward the earth. Suddenly, there is a heavy blast. She loses her sight and can't hear anything for a while. Surrounded by dust, she struggles to see anything around her as she tries to get up. Samira tries to find her way through the dust when she hears a man shout in agony. At the same time, an unknown creature appears and picks him up. Another woman screams in fear, but within seconds, the creature grabs her and devours her. Samira hides behind a car, but knowing it isn't safe, she tries to move forward. Suddenly, the car catches fire, and she stumbles and falls. After a while, she regains consciousness and begins to cough. The man places his hand over her mouth to quiet her, and Samira calms down, understanding the situation. She notices several people sitting in a hall nearby. Looking around, she spots Ruben seated to the side. He hugs her and returns her cat, which she hugs tightly as it is her most important possession. Suddenly, they hear the sound of a helicopter and heavy objects flying in the sky above, followed by a blast. Samira runs to save herself, but in her haste, she steps on a piece of glass. The bell on the cat's collar alerts the creature, and it immediately breaks through the door and enters. The beast, sensitive to sound, approaches Ruben and seems to sense his presence, though it cannot see him clearly. He remains still, holding his breath, knowing that the sound-sensitive creature is not adept at seeing. Outside the theater, a series of blasts begin once again after a while. Samira goes silently to the washroom to wash her face from the dust. Returning toward the hall, she sees someone quietly taking notes on safe places to hide from the creatures. It is written that they must get off the bridges to save themselves. Suddenly, the beast attacks the building again, and Samira runs outside toward the roof. The whole city is burning down, and high-speed jets are dropping explosives to destroy the area. Buildings and bridges quickly suddenly. A man calls them from behind despite trying to silence him. He does not stop. As he fears the situation immensely, Henry stabs him in the head, and he falls unconscious. That night, Samira finds a pad and tells Ruben she is about to go to Harlem. She hopes that she will find her pizza there that brings a smile to their faces, but suddenly the light turns off and starts the generator automatically, creating a heavy sound, knowing that the creature will respond to the sound and attack the building. Ruben turns off the generator, but as it turns off, an object in his hand makes a heavy sound, alerting the creature standing behind him. It attacks him and finishes him at the exact moment Samira holds her hands over her mouth, tightly, as she wanted to cry but could not for fear of losing her life afterward. Knowing this place was no longer safe, she stepped out of the building. The streets, buildings, and vehicles had all become ruins. She entered the nearby grocery store, grabbed some necessary food items, put them in a tote bag, and started moving ahead. Sitting closer to a fountain, she opened the food can, as it was the only way to neutralize the sound of opening it for her cat. Suddenly, she looks at two kids staring at her from behind the water, and it seems they are hungry. She brings them out and gives them food, and simultaneously, the announcement about the safe shelter place from the alien creature begins. She asks the kids to follow her silently and hides under a roof. After the silence persists, Samira is sure that aliens are not near. She comes out with the kids. To her amazement, many people emerge from their hideouts and walk toward the shelter. She uses an eye gesture to tell the kids to go where these people are going. Afterwards, Samira starts walking in the opposite direction, but she notices that people are carrying heavy suitcases and making sounds unknowingly, which will soon alert the alien creature. Hence, in the next moment, numerous aliens attack. Out of nowhere, to save herself, Samira hides under a car where a man begins shouting for help. The creature hears his voice and kills him. Samira hardly pulls herself from under the car and looks around, terrified. People who speak a word are eaten by aliens. She hides near a garbage bin. On the other hand, her cat finds a man who has saved himself from drowning. The cat signals him to follow and guides him to where Samira is. Hiding, she is so happy to reunite with her cat, but guides the man to keep moving. The man follows her as if he cannot understand anything. Soon after, heavy rain falls, and they stand under a shelter where Samira asks his name. He is Eric. Samira guides him to the shelter and insists he stop following her. He tries to move away, but cannot do so. Hence, Samira asks him to follow her, and they enter a residential building. They spend the night. Eric hits the door in the noise of a thunderstorm. The sound of breaking the door lock blends in with the sound of the storm. Eric has no family here, and his parents live in England. Samira wants him to get near the water, take a boat, and leave the city. At the same time, she will get the pizza on her way out of there. She shows him the picture of her dad, who used to play piano, and they talk about each other's lives. Suddenly, Samira shouts out of extreme rage. They both shout to hear their voices loudly at least once before they die. The following day, Samira wakes up first and leaves the apartment without waking Eric, wanting to go without him chasing her. After a while, sitting near a set of soaked books in the rain, she senses that Eric has once again found her. This annoys her, but she gives him the notebook, pretending he searched for her to return it. As she tries to get up, a bunch of books falls down, alerting the alien creature. They run inside a building, but as Eric opens the door, an organizer stuck in the door falls down, and aliens attack the building. They chase them while Eric throws rocks at cars to start the car alarms, which divert their attention. They enter a subway, but as they reach the other end, a huge alien steps down the stairs. Seeing no other way to survive, Samira and Eric silently put their bodies inside the water and begin walking ahead with utter discretion. They keep moving forward while the alien stands above, clinging to the roof. Eric is losing his calm, but Samira tries to silence him by holding her hand over his mouth. Suddenly, the alien hears his heavy breathing and chases them into the water. They hardly float towards the other side while the creature drowns in the water chasing them. Eric helps Samira get out of the water, and they hide inside a church. Samira needs her transdermal patch and is vomiting. Eric asks her about the names of the medicines and goes out to look for a nearby pharmacy. The pharmacy is dark and abandoned, so he discreetly picks up a torch to search for the medicine. In the meantime, the cat follows him. On their way back, the cat chases a rat and, amid the rubble, gets stuck to a high pillar. Eric can't go back without taking her, but once again the giant alien walks past him. He somehow reaches the pillar while aliens feed themselves nearby. He makes no sound, and when an alien looks at him, it can't see anything, using only its hearing to chase its target. The alien eventually goes away, and he gets the cat and returns to Samira. Eric puts the patch on her waist, which eases her pain. That night, Samira shares that her father used to take her to a jazz club to hear the piano. She loved that time. She used to get pizza afterward, but her father soon died. She feels hopeless about her life, suspecting she is dying. Eric promises that he will get her pizza the following day. Samira wears sneakers and walks past Eric out of the church onto the city streets. They look for pizza shops around the city, but every place is ruined and burned down. They reach a nearby club with musical instruments, and Samira plugs her iPad into the stereo system. Unable to play the piano for fear of aliens, she runs her fingers along the keyboard. Meanwhile, Eric finds and brings a pizza. While she sips whiskey in the club, she gets so happy to see her wish come true and eats joyously. Eric pours the whiskey while he remembers her other wish to enjoy jazz music. Unable to play the sound, he invites her on stage. As they finish the pizza, he plays a trick he knows. He picks a deck of cards and asks her to pick one. She picks a card, and surprisingly, of all the cards, the one she picks is the same as the first one. It gives her immense happiness, and they pretend to perform this in front of an imaginary audience. They bow down before their audience and leave the club as planned. Eric has to take the ship to reach his homeland, with tears in her eyes. Samira immediately gives him her beloved cardigan, which Eric wears. The boat is about to leave the city waters, and they have to rush, counting each step discreetly to avoid making any noise. They cross the streets, and the broken cars park in their way. The aliens wander on the roads near the water, searching for their next target. The horrible sight is too terrifying. If Eric goes ahead, he will become the target and vanish in an instant. He is losing his heart, but Samira urges him to find the courage to leave the wretched city and reunite with his parents. To master his courage, she gives her cat to Eric, but what she is about to do is unknown to him. She hands her cat to him as she prepares to risk her life to save Eric from becoming the alien's target. She turns around grabs a metal rod and bangs it on a car window, starting the security alarm. She keeps banging the rods on the windows of the cars one after another, alerting the aliens as she runs. This also catches the attention of the men in the boat. Watching Eric run toward them, they ask him to stop the ship. Running toward the water, Eric bangs his body into a metal piece, and the alien creature starts following him. He quickly runs and jumps into the water just before the creature reaches him. The creature turns and swims away, and Samira watches him swimming in the water with her cat, tears in her eyes. Soon, he gets on the boat and reunites with many others trying to leave the city. They assure him that he is safe here. On the other hand, Samira looks at the picture of her late father wearing the same cardigan that she was wearing, now with Eric like a lucky charm. She cries, looking at his picture while sitting alone in a broken building. The movie ends here. So, hope you like this explanation video by Hollywood Gems. If you enjoyed, then don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel.